Good evening. Welcome to the annual organizational meeting of the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, April 5, 2010. By state law, the first Monday in the month of April and every year, villages are required to have an annual organizational meeting, at which time we read through a whole series of resolutions which we invite you to listen to that are mostly dry as dust. Tonight, the primary purpose of the evening is to install our newly elected trustee, Brian SKARSTAD, who ran unopposed for the remaining year of the term that he was appointed to when I was elected as mayor. So our first order of business is for Trustee SKARSTAD to be sworn in by Pleasantville Justice John CURLEY.
You'll get it right.
Excellent. Try to raise your hand. I, Brian SKARSTAD, do solemnly swear
I, Brian SKARSTAD, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Municipal Code of the Village of Pleasantville,
and the Municipal Code of the Village of Pleasantville,
and that I will faithfully discharge my duties
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
as a trustee for the Village of Pleasantville
as a trustee for the Village of Pleasantville,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're back on.
Thank you.
Again, you gotta say a few words now, Brian.
Thank you, Judge CURLEY. And I invite
Thank you,
Thank you,
John.
John. Thank you.
I invite both our newest and oldest trustee to offer a few comments.
Well, I'm completely unprepared, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, as usual.
For a speech, as usual, right?
But that won't stop him.
No, but I would like to say a few words. You know, as I was saying to the board earlier, I've been here a long time. I've sat on this board for now 11 years, and the upcoming year will be a 12th year. So, you know, not only are they sick of me, but I'm sick of myself on some nights, and they are sick of me too. But what I've noticed over the last year, when I first came back, when Peter asked me to rejoin the board, when I was appointed last year, I was unprepared for how much I enjoyed it for the last year. I thought I would just fill the place and remember what happened, remember how we do it. But in fact, there are a lot of critical things going on. And I honestly felt, in spite of the fact that I joke that I'm the Robert Byrd of Pleasantville, having been on the board so long, I actually am finding it just a completely, every year, every meeting is a new meeting, and there are new troubles and problems and joys that come all of our ways. And I'm as excited about doing this today as I was the first day I came back on the board. And I think it's in no small measure because, first of all, our great staff, Patty and Judy, who keep us all honest, and even more so the board that I sit with. And every one of these people, you don't know this because unless you really come, and nobody comes, why should you? But it's a really wonderful and honest place to be where we can, well, I guess you'd have to say we can attack each other, we go at each other. We're not conventional people. I would say that there are 5 people on this board and you don't have any conventional people on this board. Everyone is just a few degrees off true north, let's face it. But that actually results in a group of people who are really asking hard questions, not afraid to ask hard questions of the issue that we're dealing with and of ourselves. And we walk away, I think, in a collegial way. We can have some pretty testy meetings, ask hard questions, and then walk away and still be friends. And I think that's a mark of a true board. And I think this is a board that brings more expertise. I mean, I hate to rate boards that I've served with over the years, but this board certainly is up there with the amount of expertise that each person brings to the discussions that we have, in a way that I have a level of comfort in all things that we talk about as much as I can have. So I would thank my wife and family, but they don't really support me doing this. So I would just thank everybody in this room. I thank my dog. And hope that that after a year, in this next year, I would just hope that the Village of Pleasantville sees, as we're beginning to see now in the Farmers Market Committee, new people rising up and taking responsibility for the running of this place. It's a thankless job, but I don't think anybody on this board does it to be thanked. I think we do it because some people are PTA committee chairmen and some people are coaches, and some people just sort of like to think about public, the way the public sector operates in this town, and so it's not that it's a more important place to be. It certainly isn't. There are den mothers who are doing just as much for people moving into this village. But I would encourage people to take a look at service and volunteer service in the village, and encourage you to step forward and play a role in that. So thank you all very much.
So much for extemporaneous.
Thank you, Brian. We're glad to have you back, and I appreciate your willingness to come back and step into the fold. I thought I would just make a few brief comments about some of the issues that we've been grappling with last year and the ones we'll be looking forward to this year. As Brian indicated, we spend a lot of time dealing with stuff that comes over the transom, and sometimes what we talk about next week isn't what we thought we were going to talk about because things have happened in the interim. But there are also some things that have some clear significance that are going to extend not only through this year but into next year and well beyond. And one big piece of that is the fact that the village is not immune to the same forces that all of us have seen in many cases in our private lives, in our business lives, and in the life of the economy of the region and the state and the country. At the moment, we are working on a budget that we will talk about in greater detail at the budget hearing, which is next Monday, April 12, and we encourage you to sign on to pcdv76.org or tune in through cable television or come visit us in person at 8 p.m. next Monday, April 12, where we will have a presentation about the forthcoming budget. We still have a couple of work sessions between now and then, and we're working up on the details of that. But suffice it to say, it isn't an easy budget year, as it isn't for almost any community in this area. We're pressured in a number of ways, both by declining revenues from things like sales tax and also by a declining tax base as a result of tax challenges that homeowners and commercial property owners and co-op and condo complexes have been successful in getting. And as a result of that, it means that we have built into the budget an almost a structural increase that will certainly be a problem for us to grapple with this year and next, and very possibly for quite a few years to come. So one of the things we're all talking about is not only what to do this year, but what the implications of the changed economy are for the years that come after this year. And so we'll have more to say about that on April 12th and more to say about it as the year progresses. But in the meantime, our departments have all done a really remarkable job in many, many ways. DPW has come in at all hours of the night in a couple of extreme storms over the last couple of months, and we certainly have seen in a very direct way what it means to have a team of people at DPW who are both willing and skilled and equipped to undertake emergency services. Saw a report yesterday that indicated that Con Edison said that the windstorm of 2 weeks ago was the worst storm they have encountered in the last 30 years. So that, coupled with the snow and ice storm that happened a couple of weeks before that, was an occasion where the good work that DPW does comes before the village, and we all see it in a very direct way and realize what the taxes we pay provide us not only on a day-to-day basis, but provide us in terms of sort of elasticity of service to rise to the occasion in a crisis. That's a decent segue, I think, to the discussion that some of you have heard about that we continue to have on the board about the future of our sanitation department, which is a division of the Department of Public Works. There are many communities that don't have their own in-house sanitation. Pleasantville has had it for a long time, and we're in a review at the moment trying to align what we know to be the costs of our in-house services with the cost that some of our neighboring communities pay for contracted services. Nobody's made any clear decision on that, but we've met with the union a number of times and are asking them to come to the table and assist us in identifying ways in which the services they provide can be more cost effective, because although the exact dollar figure is subject to some question, I think it is pretty much beyond question that an outsourced solution would save money. So we're, I think, obligated both by our responsibility to the village as well as good sense to take a look at that and look at it quite seriously. I know that's a source of some contention within the community, and various community members have various opinions about it. I can assure you that we will be as candid as we can possibly be. At the moment, we view it as a union negotiation that's ongoing, and we'll have more to say as the weeks progress. Parks has done a great job. There are a couple of good things that are rolling on this year with new recreation facilities. We have restrooms that are now open, am I fair to say, Patty, at Soldiers and Sailors?
They are open. I mean, they're available once the fields are
Once they
open.
put the toilets in.
No, everything's running. The plumbing works. I don't think the site is graded properly yet, though.
All right, so there are a few details still to be finished, but this spring, for the
Plumbing
first
works.
spring in a very, very long time, there'll be running water and bathroom facilities at Soldiers and Sailors, useful not only to the families and kids that play on the fields, but also to the families and kids that play on the playground. We're also looking at some enhanced playground equipment there that comes to us in the form of a grant that Assemblyman Richard Brodsky secured on our behalf, and so there are further improvements at Soldiers and Sailors coming our way. DPW has completed an improvement of the baseball diamond down at Parkway Field, and that is now a better drained facility, and also, I think, a regulation infield. Am I right
Yeah,
in
that's
describing it that
correct.
way? So that'll be a very positive thing, and that was work done on an in-house basis with our in-house guys. We've gotten great service from Virginia Pancotti in our senior programs, which continue to provide not only an interesting array of enrichment programs for seniors at the Clinton Street Center, but also a lunch program, as well as a Meals on Wheels program that serves people who can't get out but need some assistance with a nutrition program. And indeed, it's a successful enough program that Pleasantville is actually a contract site providing meals for a couple of other towns as well. So continues to be a remarkable program with people who are extremely committed to it, as well as a cadre of volunteers who float the boat there. Our police department, as you may be aware, has suffered a number of problems in the course of this year, including a circumstance where an officer took ill. They have, I think, rallied around the need to fill those gaps, and I am pleased to report that we've had a look at the overtime budget this year, and I think are within our expectations. And we also got the happy news just the other day that two of our officers, Patrolman Jesse Woolman and Detective Herb Peterson, have been selected for citation by the Westchester PBA. So that is happy news, and we'll report more on that when the actual award is delivered. PCTV continues to do a great job for us. Thank you, Shane, back at the back of the hall there. The PCTV board continues to operate a great business down there, and Shane McGaffey continues to be the captain of that ship. As many of you know, we finally concluded a long, tangled, and difficult negotiation with Verizon, and Verizon Fios TV is now an option for people in the village. That is good news in many ways. It's problematic news in a number of other ways, and one of the ways in which it's problematic is it presages a reduction in the support for the public access services that PCTV provides. So one of our challenges for this budget year and for the year to come is to grapple with the implications of that long term. Mary Schwartz, our treasurer, and Pam Hoffman, our deputy treasurer, have done a great job in our finance department. We're now getting budget reports that are timely and detailed and accurate at a level that exceeds, I think, our expectations. Both Pam and Mary deserve an awful lot of credit for that. And they are also able now to run quite easily the what-if scenarios that help inform the decisions we're going to have to make as we not only begin this, deal with this current budget, but begin the process of thinking about our long-term budget issues and, as we have discussed at a couple of recent meetings, the notion of establishing some financial policies going forward. So I'm happy to report that I think our town and county relationships are as strong or perhaps stronger than they've been in a long time, notwithstanding the fact that the town enacted a tax on its incorporated villages, which hadn't existed for a good long time. Aside from that little dust up between us, I'm happy to report that Bob Meehan and I met on a regular basis, and now that Bob has moved on to become the county attorney in Rob Astorino's administration, and Joan Mayberry has taken office as the new town supervisor, Joan has been present and helpful and forthcoming, and I am really optimistic that the relationship between the town council and this village board can be more fruitful than it has ever been. And indeed, I think both sides of the table, all of us here as well as all of them there, recognize that there are some natural opportunities between the town and the village to share services and perhaps find some ways to address the financial pressure that both of us feel. On the economic development side, you have probably heard, if you follow the goings-on here, that we have had the services of about a 60-person master planning committee that was led by Peter Russell, Peter Eschweiler, and before his arrival on the board, Steve Lopez, looking at some long-term master planning issues for the downtown business district. We're currently talking about the possibility of taking that and engaging some professional assistance to turn it into a master plan update, but also in turning the ideas of that into a real-world plan to sort of generate some actual development in downtown Pleasantville. So one of the issues that we are very clear on is that the only way to address the tax issue that we confront is to try to generate some new tax rateables in the community. The grim news is that it will take quite a bit of economic development just to replace the tax rateables we lose in the form of tax challenges. But be that as it may, I do think that that committee and Peter Eschweiler, Russell, and Steve have given us a great jump start on what could turn into a blueprint for some real change at a Pleasantville scale here in the downtown area. As I mentioned a few times, the MLA property is on the market. There was great enthusiasm initially, and I think financial realities are starting to come into play as some of the potential bidders start to get serious about whether they can make an offer. But I had a conversation with the broker a couple of weeks ago, and I gather that there remain some live opportunities there, and we are cautiously hopeful that at this time next year we might be talking about that property with a different set of initials, whatever they might be. Amid that, as you walk around the village, you'll notice that some smaller scale good things are going on. There's been a major investment in the building at 42 Wheeler Avenue. That's the building that has Pleasantville Pizza in it. Lord A. Realty has purchased that building and invested a great deal of money in a building that many had considered to be a bit of an eyesore, so that was very positive news. Lucy's Lounge is now through the approvals process and will be putting an addition on the back of their building that will give them both the opportunity to have a restaurant area, bar food, and a party area. We've had great news on Marble Avenue, where property has been purchased by Amangiari, and they intend to develop a new restaurant in that location. So there are a whole series of interesting things going on, even in a difficult economy, and I'm happy and thankful to report that we continue to get a lot of interest from various developers who are interested in smaller things and even some bigger things. So as the next year progresses, there may be more to talk about, and as we always try to do, we'll engage the public in that discussion. So I thank all of my colleagues and all of the staff for assisting me as they have in my first year as mayor. It's always a learning curve, and despite the fact that I've sat here on this table for not quite as long as Brian and just a little longer than Jonathan, it's a new experience to become the mayor, and indeed a new experience to sit on this board in general, grappling with the challenges that we confront right now. So I thank all of my colleagues, and I thank the staff members for their assistance in that regard, and I thank all of you, the enormous number of volunteers in this town who make this place work and make Pleasantville a place that is really qualitatively different from lots of places other people live. I can't tell you how many times people come and see something going on here and they say, how do you make that happen? And the answer is, none of us made it happen. All of you out there made it happen. So thank you so much for all the service you give to the Village of Pleasantville, and we are very much appreciative of it, and we'll repay that with attention to some of the tough challenges we confront for the coming year. Anyone else want to add anything to the goings on?
Could I just report on one thing that that was actually on NPR this weekend? I don't know if any of you listened to Will Schwartz's puzzle segment on NPR, which is at 8:40 every Sunday morning, which somehow I find myself listening to. Will is a resident of Pleasantville and is the puzzle editor of the New York Times. And he announced to the nation that he had, and he is also a resident of Pleasantville, he announced to the nation that I think that he said that he's come to terms on the purchase of a building in which he will be establishing a table tennis club. He's an avid table tennis person, doing that all over the country. And the rumor had been about that he'd been trying to find a building to do this. I don't know any details but what was said to the nation on NPR, but it looks like something like that is coming to the village. And I think that's only a great thing for us.
So he purchased it in Pleasantville? The village of Pleasantville?
He
Yes.
said it,
That's
the
what he
town
said?
in which I live.
The town
So-
in which I live.
So it could be, it could be
right.
Pleasantville proper.
We're hopeful that it is, so we may,
Well,
may have more to
we
say on
only
that.
encourage things like this. These are the kind
This
of
is
things
wonderful.
that show
It's wonderful. So.
show confidence in the village and confidence in sort of the general scene here. And I think if this is in fact the case, and we can only think it is since it was on national radio, it's a huge plus for our community. So
It's wonderful.
yeah.
I just want to announce John Norris Town Hall meeting. Can I do that?
Sure.
I just wanted to mention that legislator Nona, District 3, is having town hall meetings, and the one for Pleasantville is in Mount Pleasant Wednesday night at 7:30 to 9 at the town hall in Mount Pleasant, in the tower room. And you know, his newsletters are around. I think we put some up in Village Hall, and they're around, and you get them online, and you could come and ask questions to your legislator. I think it's pretty important to get out there.
County legislator.
County legislator, right? And that's one town hall plaza in the tower room.
Thank you, Mindy. In fact, you remind me that I should have included when I was commenting about our town relations, our relationship with the county. Are also, I think, at an all-time high, or at least a recent memory high, and that is due in large part to the fact that our former mayor, John Nona, is our county legislator, and
Helps a lot.
helps tremendously. That is now due. We now have even an expanded window,
Right.
because Trustee Mindy Berard is a legislative assistant with John.
Legislative aid.
And as a result of that, Mindy is now able to give us a real-time report on the goings-on in the county. And I add to that our new county executive, Rob Astorino, has been extremely forthcoming in reaching out to villages and towns within Westchester, and that is also very much appreciated. Rob is clearly interested in a number of subjects that are very important to us, and indeed, I would say, with great conviction, that some of those items are actually items that transcend any kind of political parties, and they include the obvious need to reduce the overall cost of government and to make some progress in terms of things like insurance copays and the like for employees both in the county as well as on the local level. So I thank Rob for that. With that, we have a list of exciting resolutions, and I will read the first three, which are mayoral appointments. Resolve, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby appoints the following persons to the positions listed below for terms in accordance with village law. Deputy Mayor Brian SKARSTAD through April 2001. Trustee of the Police Pension Fund.
2011.
I'm sorry, 2011. See, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Trustee Police Pension Fund, Jonathan Cunningham through April 2011 to serve with the mayor and the chief of police. By way of description, the village still has a very, very small pension fund for police officers that dates back to the point when the village had its own pension operation. And I think there remains only a single beneficiary, am I right?
I think there's only one beneficiary, yes.
Prosecutor David Whalen through April 2011. Acting Village Justice Susan Gulata through April 2011. Village Clerk Judith Weintraub through April 2012. Thank you very much, Judy. Deputy Village Clerk Patricia Dwyer through April 2011. Deputy Village Treasurer Pamela Hoffman through April 2011.
Runner-up.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome back. Right, it was a hard-fought vote, but we decided in the end to do it. Resolution 61, resolve the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby approves the following mayoral appointments. Trustee liaison assignments, Library Board, Brian Skarstad, School Board, Mindy Berard, Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Stephen Lopez, Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Mindy Berard, Conservation Advisory Board, Jonathan Cunningham, Board of Architectural Review, Stephen Lopez, Chamber of Commerce, Peter Shearer, Ambulance Corps, Mindy Berard, Fire Department, Peter Shearer, Business Support, Council, Jonathan Cunningham, Beautification, Brian Skarstad, Finance Advisory, Jonathan Cunningham, PCTV, Jonathan Cunningham, Affordable Housing, Peter Shearer and Brian Skarstad, Parking Advisory Committee, Mindy Berard, and then Trustee Department Liaisons, Mindy Berard to Parks and Recreation, Peter Shearer to the Police Department, Brian Skarstad, Public Works, Stephen Lopez, Building Department, Jonathan Cunningham, Finance, and Mindy Berard to Senior Programs. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Number 62, resolve the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby appoints the following persons to boards, commissions, and committees. Dan Franklin to the Zoning Board, term through April 2015. Steve Harrigan, David Keller, Robert Stone, and Nat Hoyt to the Planning Commission, all terms through April 2013. Jane Schwedfeger, Architectural Review Board through April 2013. John Nona to the Ethics Board through April 2011. Malcolm Netburn and Lisa Brown to Conservation Advisory Board, both April 2012. Gary Cahill, Mike Gilfeather, and Laurie Shea to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board through April 2013. Public Safety Committee, Chief Charletti, the Chair, Fred Hettinger, Joe Gulata, Chris Satriali, and John Cullen, all through April 2011. Village Curator, Karsten Johnson through April 2011. Beautification, Kathy Dinkle, the Chair, Marion Coughlin, Jean Nona, Fran Scribella, Elizabeth Ward, Gary Carrero, and Tanya Cunningham, all Beautification Committee through April 2011. Business Support Council, Peter Russell, the Chair, Antoinette Emerson, Kathy Dinkle, Chris Cornell, Peter Eschweiler, John Crisco, Ben Lane, Peter Rogovan, Karen Kleiman, and Seth Greenwald, all through April 2011. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 63, Steve.
Resolved that stated meetings of the Board of Trustees shall be held at 8 p.m. on the second and fourth Mondays of each month, except April, when the first regular meeting, organizational meeting, shall be the first Monday and shall convene at 7:30 p.m. Work sessions shall commence at 7 p.m. When any such meeting date falls on a legal holiday, the meeting shall be held on the next succeeding day without further notice unless amended by the Board of Trustees. All meetings of the Board of Trustees will take place at Village Hall, 80 Wheeler Avenue, second floor, unless otherwise noticed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Mindy.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby sets the following procedures for calling for a special meeting by the Board of Trustees. A special meeting can be held by either the mayor or can be called by either the mayor or at least two trustees acting together. The Board of Trustees will be contacted by either telephone, telefax, or email. In the event of a special meeting, a special meeting is to be called, all attempts will be made to contact the news media and public as soon as practical, right, after calling for the special meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Jonathan.
I resolve that the Journal News is hereby designated as the official newspaper for the Village of Pleasantville.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
What are the requirements for the official newspaper?
It has to be a daily,
I see.
and that's why, hence it's always the Journal News.
Number 66.
Resolved
Brian.
that the Board of Trustees.
No.
Yes, it's,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 66, Brian.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby approves the following employees to be authorized signatories for drafts and transactions at all depositories: Peter Scherer, Mayor; Mary Schwartz, Treasurer; Pamela Hoffman, Deputy Treasurer; Maureen Pears, Bookkeeper.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Steve, number 67,
On
which I think
60
you can summarize.
On 67, shouldn't the Bank of New York be Chase?
I asked Mary that, and she said they do have an account with Bank of New York. There is a, it's not a branch, but they do have,
The larger bank.
yeah, just, she asked to leave it in.
Okay.
Well, there's 3 or
That's
4
good
banks here.
point.
It's
Right.
in addition to,
We can remove Pleasantville branch, but,
Resolved the Bank of New York, J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, Wachovia Bank, TD Bank, Hudson Valley Bank, Mayopac National Bank, and Cooperative Liquid Assets Security Systems be and the same are hereby designated as depositories for all funds of the Village of Pleasantville, and is hereby directed that all funds of the Village of Pleasantville shall be deposited in said banks unless otherwise specifically authorized. And the resolution goes on to describe some of the other conditions of these banks being designated as bank depositories.
So as further stated in the record, is there a second?
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Mindy.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby authorizes the village administrator to approve in-state conferences in accordance with General Municipal Law, Section 77-B, and further resolve that all out-of-state conferences be approved by the Board of Trustees.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 69. Okay.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby sets the standard business mileage rate for transportation expenses for village employees using their personal vehicle for the village business as per the rate guidelines as set forth by the Internal Revenue Service.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Brian, number 70.
Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes payment in advance of audit of claims for public utility services, postage, freights, and express charges, and all such claims shall be presented at the next regular meeting for audit, and the claimant and officer incurring or approving the same shall be jointly and severally liable for any amount disallowed by the Board of Trustees.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Steve. Steve, you're getting the long ones here.
Yeah, I think we'll summarize this one somewhat.
Yes, I think you can,
Yeah.
yes.
Resolved that the village treasurer is hereby authorized to implement the following investment policy for the Village of Pleasantville. The scope is that the investment policy applies to all monies and other financial resources available for investment on the village's behalf or on behalf of any other entity or individual. The objectives of this local government's investment activities are in priority of order to conform with all applicable federal, state, and other legal requirements, to provide sufficient liquidity to meet all operating requirements, and to obtain a reasonable rate of return. The policy goes on to discuss delegation of authority, prudence, diversification, internal controls, designation of depositories, collateralizing of deposits, safekeeping and collateralization, permitted investments, authorized financial institutions and dealers, purchase of investments, repurchase agreements, and an Appendix A dealing with a schedule of eligible securities, all on file and available for viewing at Village Hall and Village Clerk's office for details.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Mindy.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby adopts the purchasing policy as filed in the office of the village clerk.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Jonathan.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby amends the master fee schedule instituting a $25 fee to levy each outstanding water bill onto village taxes.
Is there a second?
Second?
Patty, you want to describe this?
It covers really administrative work, and it involves basically water liens that have to be levied after the tax roll has been finalized. On occasion, people don't pay their water bills, and we have to run an additional process in order to levy those, and particularly if there are banks involved and other types of financial institutions. So It's an assessment, basically.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. That being our last resolution at the annual organizational meeting, did anyone have anything further, new business? Nope. I thank you again, Trustee SKARSTAD, for rejoining us for another year.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor.
I thank all of you for watching. Again, be reminded that our next regular meeting is just a week from now, Monday, April 12th at 8 p.m., and that will be our budget hearing. So it's an important opportunity to hear not only what the budget looks like, but the basis for it. So I encourage you to watch. I thank you all for watching. Have a good night.